Hi, I'm Alan Ross. We're here at the RE Plus Conference and Exposition. We're talking to thought leaders about the future of the energy economy. So join us and enjoy. My next guest is Mark Higgins. Mark is the president of North America for RedFlow. He is also their chief, I call him their chief compliance officer because it was CCO, but it's chief communications?
Chief commercial officer.
Commercial officer. Okay,
so it's the guy that's in charge of the entire business development and sales operations for the company.
All right, I like that title. I think I'm going to use that title for my next venture. No, but Mark is with RedFlow. We've got a lot to talk about. Tell me a little bit about your history with RedFlow, your history in the industry.
Sure. So I've spent almost my entire career in clean tech, and kind of dating back to before really there was any renewables on the grid other than maybe some biomass power plants and things like that. I started out more in the venture capital side of things, looking at technologies that could really help make an impact on sustainability. Looked a lot at like ag and things like that, and ended up getting into the solar space very early on, and did a lot of project development. I've worked for a major U.S. utility. I've done a lot of work with different government agencies and utilities, et cetera, and trade organizations as well. Been involved with RedFlow now for about a year and a half. In my current capacity, about 6 months.
Okay.
And I joined RedFlow because I really saw it as being kind of a hidden gem within the renewables space. It's got a great product that has been commercially proven, almost 250 installations around the world at this point in time, and it really represents a great alternative to kind of the dominant technology today in the battery space, which is lithium ion.
Right. So that's one of the things that excites me the most. You heard the, did you hear the opening ceremony and the guy talked about an inflection point? You can sense that here. The whole renewables energy thing is at an inflection point. The war in Ukraine, hey, decarbonization is now the big deal. Europe, here, everywhere.
Absolutely.
The infrastructure bill, the billions of dollars in the Inflation Reduction Act to be able to get to renewables. California saying, hey, you can't sell gas-powered cars after a certain year. So much is happening that is kind of making it, now we're going from this kind of a growth to this kind of a growth.
Generationally transformative things happening right now. It is an exciting time to be in this space.
Yeah, and solar is going to be a huge part of it. We've had some guests on here talking about trackable solar in parking lots and talking about the two-faced solar where you can actually put something on the ground and the reflection on you. It's just amazing to me, all of the kind of things that are happening. There's a problem, okay? State the problem for me without your solution yet. The problem is we can make a lot of power when the sun is shining and when the wind is blowing.
Absolutely, and that's the cheapest way to make power.
Absolutely.
Now. The problem is that you have all of this energy that's being generated in the middle of the day when the sun is shining, as you said, but when are people using energy? They're using it 24 hours a day, and a lot of times that energy consumption peaks at a time when the generation's not peaking now. So, let's take a look at California a couple of weeks ago when we were having that massive heat wave. Everybody's air conditioners were cranking at 7, 8 p.m. at night. You don't have the sun up at 7 or 8 p.m. at night, or it's setting at that time. You need to shift a lot of power from the middle of the day to when people are using it in the evening. And that's where batteries are so important for the grid of the future. You're going to have this massive need to take all that power and move it to the times of day when people need it.
So the answer is just we need more lithium, because lithium-ion batteries are ubiquitous with this industry. Well, no, seriously, everybody's looking for more lithium, and there's supply chain issues that we've talked to people who just said, yeah, our growth could be. Right. RedFlow has a solution, and I'm really interested. We talked with somebody who has a vanadium flow battery type, which is a different, and they're at utility scale.
Right.
But talk a little bit about the solution, because you've got applications out there. What is the solution from your perspective to the problem?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you mentioned lithium, and the problem with lithium right now is that there are a lot of competing sources of demand for lithium. You've got the whole electric vehicle industry that is just on this precipice of enormous growth.
Are you saying that I may have a challenge to keep this phone working because they may put the lithium in a car battery, and I don't.
That's
yeah,
right. Well, that's exactly right, and you've seen it in the way lithium prices have just skyrocketed over the past couple of years.
Hadn't thought about that.
So the price to get a lithium-ion battery today is so much higher than it was just a couple of years ago because everybody wants that limited capacity of lithium that's out there in the marketplace today, and it's not as commonly available of a material. I mean, it's relatively common, but it's not, there's only a few places in the world that where there are lithium mines, and they're working to expand the capacity. They're struggling to keep up. There's been a lot of plants that have been delayed or mines that have been delayed in operating, and there's just not that many places where it can be mined. What we have is a completely different chemistry of battery that's based on zinc, which is the fourth most abundant metal on Earth, and bromine, which is a salt that's everywhere.
Yeah.
So very commonly available materials, very low cost materials compared to lithium, a much more robust supply chain globally for a lot of those materials than you have for lithium. So, and also really relieving the pressure on lithium demand that's out there today by using our chemistry.
But where's that? But you can't put that zinc bromine battery in a phone.
No, and we're not trying to compete with that market.
Okay.
Our batteries are really for grid applications.
Okay.
They're perfectly designed to address kind of the grid of the future and this need that we have to shift a lot of energy from certain times of the day to other times of the day when that energy is needed.
Okay, I don't want to make this a commercial for RedFlow, but I want to know a lot more about what's happening.
Yeah,
so you're the only people that produce the zinc bromine?
No, there have been other companies out there historically. We just have a really long track record of doing that, and we've been in operating environments all over the world. We're on 5 different continents around the globe. We've got, like I said, about 250 projects around the world today.
Given the fact that lithium ion, I know there was a fire up in Northern California, not far from where we are, another major catastrophic issue with the lithium ion battery facility. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
I mean, I think it was yesterday that it was reported.
And there is kind of this increasing concern within the marketplace, particularly for these grid applications where you put in a lot of batteries right next to each other. That issue of thermal fire propagation that can happen from a lithium-ion battery. It's a real concern for utilities and honestly just for fire authorities, et cetera, about having all those lithium-ion batteries packed closely together. What makes a product like ours helpful in addressing that is our core chemistry does not catch on fire. It's we have an electrolyte in it that's mostly water, and it's also got bromine in it, which also happens to be a fire retardant. So we don't have that risk of like this fire propagation that you have with a lithium-ion battery, which makes us great in a place like California, where we have a lot of concern right now about wildfires and other things like that. We're talking about putting batteries out in the middle of a forest to try and power a community. Well, the last thing you want to do is be putting batteries that could catch on fire and actually cause a problem, as opposed to solve a problem when there is fire.
So as solar grows and the energy from solar grows, utility scale storage is going to be an important thing.
Absolutely.
One of the sponsors of this event for us is H2Scan. They're a company that makes a hydrogen sensor. They have a battery storage safety process because hydrogen is generated with, it's not NiCad batteries, I don't think it's lithium.
There's a lot of different types of batteries that can off-gas hydrogen.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a sensor that we'd probably use in our systems as well.
So does yours off-gas hydrogen?
Under certain conditions, if it's not operating correctly, you want to have detection equipment that can sense that sort of thing.
Okay, but if you don't flame, right? If you don't create fires, and you're using natural ingredients that can be repurposed, sustainable, why isn't every utility in the world running to you and all the solar people and saying, there's something about getting to scale that we're missing here?
Oh, I mean, you're completely right, and I think a lot of it was just that the market was still developing. 10 years ago, we've been a publicly traded company since 2010.
Yeah, what's the stock ticker? Where are you traded?
We're on the Australian Stock Exchange.
Okay.
Our ticker is RFX.
Okay, RFX.
And
Somebody
we
write
went
that
public
down
before.
for me.
So we went public before there was even a market for batteries on the grid at all.
Wow, yeah.
And we kind of found a really great niche early in our years in serving like remote communities in Australia and in South Africa and in just places that couldn't really access the normal power system.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what helped us kind of keep things going over the past 10, 15 years as the market in places like the US developed. And now what we're seeing in the US is not only has the market for batteries been created, but there's this huge push around getting longer duration solutions in the grid, the fire safety, sustainability, and honestly also having supply chains that are robust and resilient and local, and we can meet all those things. We can provide a safe solution that provides a longer duration answer for the grid that it needs right now, and I'll do so with a supply chain that doesn't have the disruptive factors that are going on within the lithium supply chain right now, and can produce a lot of it locally here in the U.S.
Excellent. I want to end with, because this sounds like a commercial for RedFlow, but one of the themes that we seem to be getting is, and it really inspires me, somebody asked me why I do what I do, because I've retired multiple times. It's because I have a granddaughter and I want to leave the world a better place for her. This is a major change. Talk about the industry, the renewables industry. We were at the RE Plus conference. Wind and solar and renewables, sustainability, everything that you talk about in batteries, it seems that we are at that inflection point as it relates to the creation of energy, right?
Right.
So wind and solar primarily being two of them. What are you all looking at? Because you got to be in the right place. The biggest problem we've had has been storage. We can create it, but we can't store it until we need it. Is there scalability down, by the way, to maybe go neighborhood size, or maybe you can't put it in a cell phone? But
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the great things about batteries for the grid. I always hear the analogy that batteries for the grid, they're kind of like bacon. They go well with everything.
including donuts of all things.
Including donuts, right.
Yeah.
And batteries for the grid are kind of like that. You can put them in a house, you can put them in a neighborhood, you can put them in a commercial building, you can put them in a giant solar farm in the middle of the desert. You can put them anywhere. You can put them anywhere. So they really are one of the key tools in the toolbox for having a sustainable power system in the future. Without batteries, we couldn't move to 100% renewable energy.
Right. I know you represent North America, but there's a huge, it's a sea change going on in Europe.
Absolutely.
A lot of it driven by the fact that the Russians, first of all, we said don't buy their gas, and then they said you can't buy our gas. And Germany in particular has really got to think of some positive ways without going back to the old oil economy. We've got to do some positive things. So they pushed solar even farther than, I've been to Germany. You look at German towns and you see solar everywhere.
And Germany's kind of a cloudy place. And they figured out a way to make it work.
Yes, if you could make it work there. But storage has been one of their big issues there. So is RedFlow making headway in Europe as well?
Right now, RedFlow has been more focused on the US and Australia. Those are our two core markets. We absolutely are interested in Europe. Europe is a great market for batteries in the medium and long run, and they're doing some really interesting things.
Okay.
Europe has some big challenges right now, and renewables and batteries are the way they're going to meet those challenges. And it's a market that that will transform over the coming decade as well.
Okay. 20 years from now, where is the renewables industry? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, what we've just seen in the U.S. with the Inflation Reduction Act passing, I mean, that was a generationally transformative bill that passed. It is going to cause a complete transformation of the market here in this country, and ultimately is going to scramble supply chains worldwide for the renewable sector, I think in a good way.
Yeah.
Because I think we'd become overly dependent on very tight supply chains for a lot of different things. We need supply chain diversity.
Yeah.
So I think there's one thing that you're going to see that will change is you'll see a lot more diversity of supply chain, diversity of technology within the marketplace. renewables and batteries are already the most cost-effective way to power the grid of the future. That's only going to accelerate as the demand ramps up for all these technologies and manufacturing capacity continues to ramp up. I think the power sector is really the shining star of the global decarbonization efforts that we have going on right now. We can achieve decarbonization within the power sector within the timeframes we've set out. So I'm excited about that. I think as a society, we have a lot of other sectors of our economy that we still need to make a lot of progress on.
Yeah, right.
But I feel like we're on the right track now, finally, within the power sector at least, towards getting to these goals.
And it sounds like Redflow, you being part of Redflow, are also in the right place at the right time. So wish you much luck. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate
for being
time.
part of the future.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
So all of these interviews that we have conducted have been sponsored by the people behind me. The first one is the Grid Edge Conference and Exposition, which takes place in April 2023 in San Diego. The IEEE PES Grid Edge Conference and Exposition has been a long time in the making. This will be our first one, and it will be a delight. I can already tell you that we've had more papers, more panelists than we could possibly hold, and the conference itself is going to be brilliant. The second organization sponsoring us is H2Scan. H2Scan is ubiquitous in the transformer industry as the best. It's kind of like Intel, it's inside. H2Scan is a hydrogen sensing technology that is patented, that has been around for the last 20 years. It really came on strong as transformer hydrogen became a problem. DGA recognized by IEEE. And I just thank the people at H2Scan. They are also in electrolyzers, fuel cells, battery storage, but hydrogen safety is incredibly important. They're in refining, in processing, so H2Scan, thank you. Lastly, RE+. We are at the Renewable Energy Plus Conference and Exposition, and as we close this one out, I want to thank them for allowing us to conduct these interviews here, for allowing us to be part of their incredible conference. It's been enormous. Been 27,000 people that have attended this conference, and you can tell the energy, the excitement that's taking place within the renewables industry, so thank you, RE+. It's been a delight to do these interviews, and I hope you've enjoyed them.